The NFL season is back, and so is NFL Survivor, the most fun way to ride every week of the season. And this season, you can turn your love of football into cold hard cash with Splash Sports. Splash Sports, which owns Run Your Pool and Office Football Pool, is giving away over $5 million in prizes this season, including the Big Splash, a $2.5 million guaranteed NFL Survivor contest. It's simple. Pick one team a week to win, survive, and advance. Last year, it was a $1 million prize pool, and this year, it's more than doubled. Entries are $150 for the Big Splash. And if you join now and use code BLUE25, you'll get $25 back on your entry. Splash has something for everyone, with contest entries starting at $5 and going all the way up to $5,000. And if Survivor isn't your thing, Splash also has pick'em contests every week, so you can test your skills against the spread, and Quick Picks, which lets you get up to 50 times multipliers for choosing more or less on up to 6 players. Join the Big Splash and other NFL contests on Splash Sports now. That's splashsports.com/BlueWire and use code BLUE25 when signing up. Splash Sports, the home of Survivor this NFL season.
Lowe's knows you've got a job to do, and we help get it done. With the MyLowe's Pro Rewards program, eligible members save more, with volume discounts on qualifying orders through a quote of $2,000 or more. Join for free today. Lowe's, we help, you save. Offer can't be combined with any other discount, contract, and/or special pricing. Exclusions, more terms, and restrictions apply. Details at lowes.com/terms. Subject to change.
This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. Browns fans, if you're like me, the stresses in life only increase the older you get. Your family, your job, your bank account, just a few things that drive the cycle of stress every day. And if you have people constantly depending on you, it can put a heavy weight on your mental health. What if I fail? What if I'm not good enough? Why does no one appreciate everything I'm trying to do for them? If these thoughts have ever darkened your day, 1, you're not alone, and 2, I highly recommend talking to someone, and that's where BetterHelp could be the right resource for you. Head to BetterHelp, HELP.com/dogs, DAWGS for 10% off your first month of talk therapy. Just fill out a simple questionnaire and BetterHelp will match you with the best therapist for your needs. And if it's not the right fit, you can switch therapists at any time for no extra cost. BetterHelp is 100% online. You can talk with your therapist on the phone, via face chat, or even through text message. Your therapist will listen, ask questions, and help you see things from new perspectives. So what are you waiting for? Take the first step to making positive improvements in your life. Head to BetterHelp.com/dogs now for 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/dogs for 10% off your first month.
Welcome to the Dogs Podcast with your hosts, Blake Reneker, Justin Charles, and Josh All.
What's up, Browns fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Dogs Podcast presented by Manly Bands. Josh All, your host today. Hope everybody had a fantastic Labor Day weekend. I know we did. Went out on the boat on the river the other day. It was a ton of fun. College football all weekend long. If you had your fantasy football drafts, I know we had all of our Dog Pack fantasy football drafts this weekend. Ton of stuff going on. And now we're all, back to work, right? And that long weekend is over. But we do have the first weekend of NFL football. Here we are. It is week 1, kickoff to the Bengals game. The Browns are opening the season at home against the Bengals on Sunday. We will be doing our full preview show for that game later this week, and we'll go through why we think the Browns, spoiler alert, are going to win the game and start off the season 1-0. So stay tuned for that. But today, what I want to dive into, there's some Quinchon Judkins news. I don't know if I really even call it news, but just a little potential insight update type thing that I want to dive into from Mary Kay Cabot. And we will also be talking about some of the information that came out from the first practice of the week yesterday, some injury news and updates, things like that. And then I do want to talk a little bit of what happened in college football this past weekend, primarily in regards to the quarterbacks. Now, I know that may be a topic that you're not ready to listen to or talk about yet until the season gets a little more underway, but This is what it's going to be like this season with the Browns having 2 first-round picks and no clear future answer at quarterback currently. Now, obviously, I'm not saying that, Dylan or Shador cannot be the future. I'm just saying at this point in time, there is no clear and obvious answer that would stop the Browns from using one of those or potentially both of those first-round picks on a quarterback. So we'll talk about that too. Before we dive in, make sure you guys like the video on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, tap the notification bell. If you're listening on audio, drop us a 5-star written review, especially on Apple Podcasts. Like the written reviews, the 5 stars, those really, really help the show and help us get discovered by more Browns fans like you. And speaking of more Browns fans like you, head over to jointhedogs.com, become an official Dog Pack member on the Patreon page, sync up with the private Discord, get in there now because like game days on Sunday, that's where you want to be. If you don't have like a group of buddies or anybody at home that is really into the game or that you can really talk to or vent to or whatever, unleash your frustrations during the game, the Dog Pack is the place to be. The Discord is popping every single game day. It's just, that is where you want to be. So get in now, jointhedogs.com. And again, I want to thank everybody who participated in the fantasy football leagues this year with the Dog Pack. I know we had all of our drafts, and I want to just tell everybody here, we had 9 leagues this year, 9 drafts. So it would have been impossible to coordinate 90 people in 9 different drafts for one specific time to run a minute and a half per pick draft over the Labor Day weekend for 9 drafts. That was impossible. So what we did is we did slow drafts. So every draft, all 9 drafts started at noon on Saturday, and everybody had 2 hours on the clock for their pick. And the draft just rolled through the weekend. And, as you were up, you had a couple hours to make your pick if you were working or you were, out on the boat with your family or whatever the case may be over the weekend. You had time that hopefully you didn't have to miss your pick. We didn't want anybody to have to auto draft their entire team just because, 7 out of the 10 people in the league said, okay, 2 o'clock on Saturday works for us. And then the other 3 people get screwed. So that's why we did it, slow drafts, and that's likely how we're going to continue to do it in the future. 2 hours might have been a little too long to start with, maybe an hour, but either way, all the drafts at this point, I believe, are complete. There might be 1 or 2 that still have to finish out their last round, but either way, we are getting ready to roll for fantasy football. And speaking of fantasy football, where are we drafting Browns players for fantasy football? We're talking, where's Jerry Jeudy? Are you high on Jerry Jeudy to start the season with Joe Flacco? David Njoku and Joe Flacco had an amazing run together at the end of 2023. And Njoku could start the season very strong. And then what are we doing with our running back situation? And that leads us into this Quinchon Judkins conversation. So the other day, Cleveland.com, Mary Kay Cabot did her Hey Mary Kay column over the weekend. One of the questions was, when will we finally have Quinchon Judkins back on the team? And her answer was, I believe Judkins will be back with the Browns soon, possibly even sometime this week as they prepare for the Bengals. If he makes it back early enough in the week, he could possibly contribute some in the opener. Okay, again, she's not saying that the Browns have told me this or per my sources or anything like that. But you got to remember, and I know a lot of people are real quick to jump all over these Cleveland media, personalities, and they don't know jack squat. You got to remember, though, they are very connected to the team. They get inside access. They get to talk to the coaches. They get to be at practice. They get to have conversations with people that are around the team. So when they say things like this, I don't want to just completely dismiss anything they say. I like to look at it and try to figure out, okay, where are they coming from or whatever. But this is interesting because for Mary Kay to say something as specific as possibly even sometime this week, and then to go a little further to say if he makes it back early enough in the week, he could possibly contribute in the opener. So she's very much expecting the Browns to sign Quinchon Judkins this week. And who knows, by the time you guys are watching this, listen to this, by the time I get this out, maybe the news drops and it's done and Judkins is signed. But either way, she's talking about early enough in the week. Now, this is Tuesday. So again, still early in the week, and this could possibly get done. She goes on to say the holdup must be with the guarantees in his contract more than anything because the amounts are slotted. He's due to make about $11.4 million over 4 years, with a signing bonus close to $5 million. The NFL is still reviewing his case under its personal conduct policy to determine if he should be suspended for his domestic battery incident, even though charges were dropped. I don't want to go too much into that whole thing with the NFL suspending him. If you guys have watched the show, you know my personal opinion. 0 games. They shouldn't even be investigating this anymore. This should be an open and shut thing. I don't know how you can suspend a guy who essentially got falsely accused. That's basically how this thing turned out. That's basically the court said, hey, there's no case here. There's no evidence to support anything this woman is saying. Actually, the evidence that they talked about pretty much pointed to the fact that, or pointed more to, she was making it up. That's right. I'm just saying that's how it came out. So if the NFL decides to suspend him, I don't really know what grounds they're doing it on. But the guarantees in the contract, let's talk about that. We have talked about it a ton on the show. Browns, Andrew Berry, freaking pay the guy. You drafted Quinchon Judkins at 36, a top 40 pick in the NFL draft. You allocated to this running back because you identified him and handpicked him and selected him to be the lead ball carrier of your run-focused offense. He is supposed to be the fuel that powers the engine of the offense. What are we doing? So he gets suspended for 3 games. If it's any more than 3 games, I will really blow my crap. So what? So what? Are you trying to get some sort of monetary discount out of this thing for the next 4 years? The guy's going to be here. He's going to be the focal point of your offense for at least the next 4 years, because whether it's Dylan Gabriel or Shedeur Sanders, who ends up being the future of this team, or it's unnamed said rookie that we draft next year or in 2027, in all of those scenarios, you still need a ground and pound attack to help that quarterback, to funnel things through in this offense. And you picked Quinchon Judkins to be that guy. Sign him. Get it done. Get him in here. The more time he misses, just the worse off this is going to be. Get him in here. I've talked to a lot of people over the weekend. Obviously, we do a ton of family stuff on Labor Day. People keep asking my opinion. What's going on with Quinchon? All this stuff. He's the one who got in trouble, and got arrested. He shouldn't be asking for more than what, blah, blah, blah. And I just keep telling everybody, listen, if I'm Quinchon Judkins' agent, I'm going to the Browns saying, you give him the fully guaranteed contract you were going to give him. You fully guaranteed your pick 33's contract, Carson Swessinger. So pick 33 got fully guaranteed. Pick 34 in the draft got fully guaranteed. That would be Jaden Higgins from the Houston Texans. And again, I should have brought up the list of all these guys and seen what they actually ended up getting from their teams. But I know pick 38, Travion Henderson, a running back with the New England Patriots, got his contract fully guaranteed. It's kind of like the house market. Like, what is the value of the houses around me? Should determine the value of my house and all that kind of stuff, or lend a large portion. Look at the value of these contracts around Quinchon Judkins in the draft. Fully guaranteed, fully guaranteed. Another running back taken 2 picks later, fully guaranteed. If I'm his agent, I'm saying Quinchon Judkins needs to be fully guaranteed. And then the Browns obviously are going to say, well, he might be suspended. He had the arrest and all this stuff. And if I'm the agent, I'm saying everything's dropped. As far as the court's concerned, it didn't happen. There's nothing there. There is no legal thing now going on to point to. And, if the Browns had just signed him before training camp, and I understand why they didn't, but I'm saying if they would have, he would have been there for all of training camp. He would have been there for all of preseason. This whole thing would have been dropped. He would be prepped and ready to go as the starter for week 1 against the Bengals, and we wouldn't be talking about this. So, they had the contract dispute, and obviously take the arrest out of it, say that had never happened, that he would have come in day 1 of training camp, just like all the other second-round rookies across the league, and the contract would have gotten done. And I am convinced it would have been a fully guaranteed contract. It's how it would have gone. So if I'm his agent, I'm still arguing for exactly what it would have been, because everything was dropped. So Get him signed, Browns. I'm sick and tired of this crap. Just get him signed. We're all tired of it. We're all just, don't let this drag into the season. And the thing with Quinchon Judkins and the Browns, this contract, the Browns historically do not let these contract disputes, at least under Andrew Berry in this current front office regime, they don't let this stuff linger and carry over into the season to be a distraction when games are being played and prepared for and all that kind of stuff. So I agree with Mary Kay. Like I could fully well see this getting done this week. Now, if it doesn't, obviously it's going to continue being a talking point, a main point of contention, a key question that the coach and everybody are going to get asked in press conferences every single week. And I know they don't want that. So I do put the likelihood at relatively likely this gets done this week. I'm very hopeful. We need him, and we'll see. We'll see how this goes. Okay, so moving into some of the stuff from the other day. Let's see. Ethan Posick practiced really good. He left the preseason game last Saturday against the Rams with a knee injury, and we really got no updates on that. It was, we'll see if, I think what was Kevin's quote? Something like, we hope he's good for the opener, something like that. So we didn't know. They obviously said they felt confident in Luke Whippler if he was asked to, fill in and start for Ethan Posick in week 1. And overall, Luke Whippler had a very good preseason. He's a guy, he lost his entire second season last year due to that broken ankle. I think it was broken. Yeah, I think it was broken ankle. Missed the whole season, all that kind of stuff, but came out of Ohio State the year before as a rookie. And in that preseason played very well. At Ohio State in college, I forget the stats. We were very excited that the Browns grabbed him in, the 6th round? It was late in the draft when we got Luke Whippler. And I mean, that whole season at Ohio State, and you're going up against some decent pass rushers and defenses in the Big Ten and that kind of stuff. And Luke Whippler gave up very few pressures. I don't know if he gave up any sacks at all his last season in college. And he was just a very good center, a little undersized for the NFL, maybe has the shorter arms for the NFL and all that kind of stuff. There were reasons why he wasn't picked higher, but it doesn't mean the kid can't play. And by all accounts, and I'm basing this off people that evaluate offensive line play. I was not an offensive lineman myself. I don't specialize in evaluating offensive linemen, but a lot of people who do look at those positions and watch that tape have said Luke Whippler had a very good preseason. He was named one of the Browns' MVPs or top 5 players from the preseason. It was Carson Schlesinger, Dylan Gabriel, Aiden Huntington, Gage Larvidan, and Luke Whippler were the Browns' 5 guys, like their top 5 players that the team picked from the preseason. So that's really encouraging to see. A couple other things. They say Mike Hall still no updates on whether or not he'll be ready and available for Sunday. He's at practice, I believe, working off to the side still, whatever that means. He's not in there doing team drills or getting any sort of heavy-duty practice. So I would put the likelihood that Mike Hall suits up and plays in Sunday's game low. I think it's much more likely, obviously, that Ethan Posick plays. And I think Kevin Stefanski even said about Posick, like, he looks good, I think he's ready and all that kind of stuff. I don't know if they actually declared that he's going to be good to go for Sunday, but all the vibes are pointing toward, yes, Ethan Posick should be available and ready to go. Mike Hall, not exactly sure. Mohamed Diabate, still not exactly sure what's going on with some of these other injuries. So we'll kind of keep watching those things here the next couple of days. We'll update anything that comes out on the preview show later this week. We'll keep posting things on X and Facebook and social media stuff. So follow us everywhere at the Dogs Podcast to stay current with all the updates, because obviously we can't just drop podcasts every time there's an update. So we're trying to keep you guys as informed as humanly possible with this team as things move forward. I mean, the news cycle is going to news every day, all day long, and it's a ton of fun. But I'm just glad it's game week and we're getting ready for some actual meaningful football for the Browns here in 2025. This episode is sponsored by Manly Bands. Browns fans, it is time to upgrade your ring game. Head over to manlybands.com/dogs and check out everything Manly Bands has to offer, some of the coolest Bands materials that you're going to find. I love going through and looking at everything in their Jack Daniel's whiskey barrel collection. I mean, you can get a wedding ring made from a Jack Daniel's whiskey barrel. That's awesome. They've got the Lord of the Rings collection. They've got DC Comics, and they've also got the other materials too. Gold, white gold, that kind of stuff. They've got meteorite. They've got dinosaur bone. They've got all kinds of stuff. And they have a ton of other gifts as well. They've got barware. They've got chains. They've got wristwatch. They've got all kinds of stuff. Anything you need if you're looking for manly rings and manly things, head to manlybands.com/dogs and make sure to use promo code CAMP25, CAMP25, to get an extra $25 off your order. That's manlybands.com/dogs, promo code CAMP25. This episode is sponsored by DraftKings Sportsbook. Game on. Week 1 starts right now, and every touchdown brings you closer to a payout with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. And it's not just football, it's first touchdown fireworks, anytime touchdown rushes, and live bets that ride every momentum shift. At DraftKings, every play is your next shot to win. You guys know I think the Browns can beat the Bengals week 1. Right now, the Bengals are 6-point favorites. The over-under is 47.5, and the Browns are plus 220 to win the game. Obviously, these lines and odds are subject to change, but what do you guys think? And new customers, this one is for you. Bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets instantly. Plus, grab over $200 off Sunday NFL ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Your season starts now. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code BROWNS. That's code BROWNS to get $300 in bonus bets instantly when you place your first bet of $5 or more, plus over $200 off NFL Sunday ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, fees may apply in Illinois. 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. See sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos. NFL Sunday ticket offer for new subscribers only and auto renews until canceled. Digital games and commercial use excluded. Restrictions apply. Additional NFL Sunday ticket terms at youtube.com/go/NFL Sunday ticket/terms. Limited time offer.
So it went around social media and everything over the weekend here on Saturday. Browns GM Andrew Berry and owner Jimmy Haslam were in Columbus on the sidelines for the Ohio State-Texas game. The big marquee matchup to kick off the college football season. You got number 3 Ohio State hosting number 1 Texas and future Browns number 1 overall pick quarterback Arch Manning, or so everybody seems to be assuming. Now, everyone's saying, those guys are down there looking at Arch and all this stuff. Yeah, sure, they're down there to watch Arch, but they're also down there to watch all the future NFL players that will be in the 2026 draft from both of these teams. These are 2 of the top college football teams. They're going to put out top NFL talent in the draft next season. So it just makes sense. 2-hour trip from Cleveland down to Columbus. I mean, they'd be dumb not to be there scouting these guys in person because it's a great opportunity. So to kind of stick with the quarterback thing, though, I mean, Arch Manning is his first start or his first start against like a ranked team? I forget what the situation was. He might have started one game last year against a podunk opponent, or I forget the case. But either way, this was his big-time debut, Arch Manning. The next in the Manning line. And, I mean, if you watch the game, there was nothing impressive. This was a team or a game with 2 very good defensive game plans ready for the other squad. Matt Patricia, for the defensive coordinator for the Buckeyes, had the Buckeyes doing some insane NFL pro style level things on defense, and it was a very tough matchup for Arch Manning in his first spotlight like this. He went 17 of 30 for 170 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. There was another throw that was almost picked off, and his touchdown came late in the game. The touchdown throw was a nice pass. And it kind of went full circle from his first throw of the game was, he had a receiver open in the zone between 3 defenders. But I mean, like he had a lot of separation, a lot of space. He was basically wide open. And Manning threw a Deshaun Watson ball 5 yards into the dirt in front of the receiver. And it was like, whoa, what was that? And, I think that there were probably the jitters, and he's on the road, and it's his first ever spotlight start, and there's all this hype and pressure, and the defense was suffocating from Ohio State. So while a lot of people are going to be quick to say, oh yeah, Arch Manning's a bust and all this stuff, it was his first game. And this is how college football is. I just want to remind everybody, CJ Stroud in his first season as the Ohio State Buckeyes starting quarterback got benched. I don't know if a lot of people even know that or remember that. CJ Stroud got benched. I forget how many games into the season. They benched him and went with, I don't remember who the backup was at that point. And because he was bad. He sucked. He looked like this kid ain't going to make it through the season. He's just not up for the job. He's not up to the task to handle this starting quarterback spot at Ohio State. By the end of that same season, CJ Stroud was in Heisman conversations and was one of the preseason Heisman candidates the following season. So things can change drastically. They always do from the kickoff of college football season to the end, much more than in the NFL for teams, because in college you've got new players at all these different positions and they are still developing, still growing. So you definitely do see the growth and progress from players from week 1 all the way through the end of the season. So Arch Manning, I do think he's going to obviously get better, and this is not the end all be all of his career. But as far as the way things started out, it did not start out all that pretty for Arch Manning. But if we want to talk about a few of these other college quarterbacks that the Browns could potentially be looking at in the 2026 draft, bear with me. This isn't even my favorite thing to talk about, but I do think it's important to at least mention these names and talk about this stuff as the Brown season goes on, because as the Brown season goes on, we'll get a better idea of what our team is going forward, what the quarterback situation may or may not look like, depending on how Joe Flacco plays, and if and when there's a transition to Dylan Gabriel and how he looks, and if there's a transition to Shedeur Sanders and how he looks, and all that kind of stuff. We had those 2 first-round picks next year. It is still probably the most likely outcome that we take a quarterback in the first round. Whether you like to hear that or not, whether you're like me and you already bought your Shedeur Sanders jersey and all that kind of stuff, the most likely outcome probably at this point in time is still the Browns will take a first-round quarterback. But we'll see how things go, obviously. If we end up making the playoffs and things go crazy this season and we have like the 23rd pick in the draft and the Jaguars do well and they have like the 27th pick in the draft, well, then maybe this is a different story. And that's why we got to let things play out. But if we move over to the Penn State game, they played Nevada. And so for Drew Aller, this is Drew Aller, the local Cleveland guy playing over at Penn State, had a solid performance, 22 of 26, 217 and a touchdown. I watched some of this game and I thought Drew Aller looked good. He's a big kid. He's got a good, strong arm and all that kind of stuff. It's just hard to. They played Nevada. It was like very much a warm-up game. This was not Ohio State playing Texas, or for Arch Manning, Texas playing Ohio State. This was Penn State getting a nice, cushy, cozy warm-up game. Drew Aller didn't even play. I don't even know. He might have got pulled in the third quarter because they were up so big. So that's just another name to keep track of is Drew. So we go Arch Manning, we go Drew Aller. The big marquee matchup between quarterbacks as far as the 2026 NFL draft goes was Saturday night between the LSU Tigers and the Clemson Tigers. Interesting matchup here. Again, this was a lot closer to like the Ohio State-Texas situation where you've got slower starting offenses to begin the year, always the case in college football. Stronger defensive performances. The LSU Tigers ended up winning 17-10 over Clemson. So you've got on the Clemson side, we'll start with Cade Klubnik, because Cade Klubnik is a guy that I've seen mocked to the Browns, number 1 overall in some of these mocks, or top 5 to the Browns and things like that. We'll see how the season progresses for Cade Klubnik. I'm not taking any overarching takeaway, I'm not making any declarative statements about these guys. After one game, Cade Klubnik did not impress me in the first game. That's all I'll say. He looked erratic. He looked shaken under pressure. It did not look like the types of things that you want to see, especially in like a Kevin Stefanski offense. I wasn't impressed. 19 of 38, 230 yards, no touchdowns, an interception, took some sacks. He's a running quarterback, so he obviously had rushing yards, but he ended up with one total yard because obviously in college football, sacks count against your rushing total. And he looked erratic. He did not look, he didn't look very poised. On the other side of the ball, another name that we got to remember here, Garrett Nussmeier. This is a guy still being, he's in that first round quarterback conversation. He went 28 of 38, 230 yards and a touchdown, no interceptions. I thought Garrett Nussmeier looked more polished than obviously Cade Klubnik and of all the quarterbacks, except for maybe Drew Aller so far. But again, hard to evaluate against Nevada. But, can't take anything away from Aller, still looked good. Garrett Nussmeier looked okay, looked polished, looked clean, looked efficient running the offense and all that kind of stuff. Again, they get a couple like nice throws that were like, ooh, those are, might be a good NFL throw right there. But overall, not a whole lot of like super impressive performances from these quarterbacks in week one. And again, I know I keep saying it, but that's just kind of to be expected. Offenses always start slower in college football to begin the season. I will just mention, this is a name, I don't know how much we'll talk about him this year because I believe he's a sophomore. I don't think he's draft eligible next year, so this would be more for the 2027 draft. But Dante Moore, the quarterback for Oregon, is interesting to me. I feel like, I don't know, I don't want to go too far into it because, again, I'm really just kind of starting to dive into some of these quarterbacks, but just keep that name in the back of your head, Dante Moore from Oregon, as a future prospect. Let's see, Miami beat Notre Dame the other night, 27-24. Carson Beck, the quarterback for Georgia last year, transferred to Miami. He's their quarterback this year. He's a guy I've never been very impressed or interested in Carson Beck. I'm seeing people online talk about him. Ken Carman has him as one of his top 4 quarterbacks for the Browns to be looking for in the draft next year. He went 20 of 31, 205, and 2 touchdowns. I don't know. We'll keep an eye on Carson Beck this year and see how he progresses and all that kind of stuff. I don't want to write anybody off completely just because of my priors, but my priors are just not good on Carson Beck. But all of this stuff I'm talking about, I hope you guys are dropping things in the comments and let me know how you feel, because this is all super opinionated things. If you guys felt that some of these quarterbacks had much better performances or much worse performances than what I'm alluding to here, let me know. I love talking about this kind of stuff, and I love hearing different perspectives because I am by no means an expert on looking at these college football players right now.
Between client meetings, managing your business, and everyday tasks, who has time to worry about website hosting? With Kinsta's managed WordPress hosting, you don't have to. They handle the technical stuff, delivering lightning-fast load times, enterprise-grade security, and 24/7, 365 human-only support. Simply switching to Kinsta could make your site up to 200% faster. Kinsta's custom dashboard makes managing sites easy, with powerful features designed to save you time and effort. Plus, their free expert-led migrations ensure a smooth transition. Ready to see why Kinsta is trusted by thousands of businesses? Get your first month free at Kinsta.com. That's KINSTA.com. Kinsta. Simply better hosting.
The NFL season is back, and so is NFL Survivor, the most fun way to ride every week of the season. And this season, you can turn your love of football into cold hard cash with Splash Sports. Splash Sports, which owns Run Your Pool and Office Football Pool, is giving away over $5 million in prizes this season, including the Big Splash, a $2.5 million guaranteed NFL Survivor contest. It's simple. Pick one team a week to win, survive, and advance. Last year, it was a $1 million prize pool, and this year, it's more than doubled. Entries are $150 for the Big Splash. And if you join now and use code BLUE25, you'll get $25 back on your entry. Splash has something for everyone, with contest entries starting at $5 and going all the way up to $5,000. And if Survivor isn't your thing, Splash also has pick'em contests every week, so you can test your skills against the spread, and quick picks, which lets you get up to 50 times multipliers for choosing more or less on up to 6 players. Join the Big Splash and other NFL contests on Splash Sports now. That's splashsports.com/Blue Wire and use code BLUE25 when signing up. Splash Sports, the home of Survivor this NFL season.
And then the last name to talk about, obviously, Lenoris Sellers from South Carolina, 12 of 19, 209 yards, a touchdown, no picks, 13 carries, 25 yards, and a touchdown on the ground. Again, I think he had more rushing yards than this, but sacks obviously take away rushing yards from these quarterbacks. Lenoris Sellers. Whew, I'll tell you what. I'm excited to watch a lot of these guys play college football this year because I think that there's some quarterback talent to talk about and to see develop. And there's going to be names at the end of this season that we're going to be discussing as first round possible guys that we're not talking about right now. Guys come out of the woodwork every year that we're like, didn't know that dude. Cam Ward, didn't know that dude. Number 1 overall pick. Joe Burrow, the year that he did his LSU thing, didn't know that dude. I mean, we did because of Ohio State fans, but the vast majority of the country didn't know him. Came out, boom, number 1 overall pick. This stuff happens. And going back now to Lenoris Sellers, though, obviously he's been talked about heading into this year, but I was impressed with his size. He's a big quarterback. He is, let me pull it up here, and 6'3", 240. He's thick, he's built, he's stocky, he's a good sized quarterback, and he can move. This dude runs. He's strong, powerful, big arm. I just want to see if he's able to be, because obviously you get all there's Trey Lance, there's Anthony Richardson, there's these big, strong quarterbacks with these big arms, these athletic guys that can run, and they suck. Well, let's give Lenoris Sellers a chance. I don't want to just chalk him up to an Anthony Richardson because I don't think that's the case. Obviously, Sellers has probably already started more games in college football than Richardson ever did. Definitely Trey Lance. And, if he's able to progress as a passer, he's a very interesting candidate to be potentially the number 1 overall pick. I mean, this guy, with his athletic ability, if he shows, promise as far as the passing stuff goes, if he's able to have a decent completion percentage and go through progressions and read defenses, he looks on the field like he knows what's going on. Like you see him directing guys. And obviously, I'm a little more fresh with this one because I just finished watching some of his game the other day. So I liked what I saw from Lenoris Sellers. Honestly, he was probably out of all the quarterbacks that I watched some of this weekend, he was probably the most fun that I watched. And that'll just be interesting to see how this goes moving forward. Obviously, things are going to change. Things are going to develop and happen throughout the college football season. So it's going to be fun having these conversations as the season unfolds. So let me know what you guys think about the kickoff to college football, these quarterback prospects in particular for the Browns, because let's face it, if Joe Flacco comes out and we win, we'll just say use Blake's number. If he wins 3 out of the first 6 games and we're 3-3, and then, at some point we end up stealing a couple games here and there that we shouldn't, or, could have lost or whatever. And, the record's like 7-5 or something. Like the Browns are not going to be moving quarterbacks if the team has a winning record. Like Joe Flacco will continue to be the guy as long as the Browns are winning more games than they lose. And, the reality of this entire situation with these quarterbacks, and I know it was fun, depending on how you looked at things over the summer, to have all the debates between Gabriel and Shador and all the arguments and things like that. And we got into it with people and it was fun. Overall, just debating football, talking football is fun. But the reality of the situation with these 3 different quarterbacks, or these 2 rookie quarterbacks on the team behind Joe Flacco and all that stuff, there's not going to be enough time, most likely, this season to evaluate both of the rookies properly. Now, obviously, the Browns are very confident in Dylan Gabriel and what he can do. They really like him. Otherwise, they wouldn't have traded Kenny Pickett away and made Gabriel the QB2, an injury away from being the guy. So they have to feel confident. And whether or not that's a good idea, I mean, they did the same thing with DTR. That was not a good idea. So just because they do it doesn't mean it's a good idea. It just means they feel comfortable and confident in Dillon Gabriel. Shedeur Sanders is probably going to get very little evaluation this season. Again, if the Browns start out 0-6 and Joe Flacco is benched by week 6, well, now that whole outlook changes, and maybe there's a very strong possibility now that both these rookie quarterbacks get evaluated this year. Going into week 1, it's just we have to have realistic expectations and not let our emotions and beliefs get the better of ourselves heading into this thing. Because the Browns, again, the most likely outcome at this point in time, and obviously this can change with new information, but right now, the Browns most likely will be using a first-round pick on a quarterback next year, especially if they don't get any chance. You got 2 first-round picks next year. You're on the clock. There's a quarterback or 2 there that you really like through the evaluation and scouting process. Are you really not going to pull the trigger on that quarterback just because you still think you want to evaluate Shedeur Sanders, who you took in the 5th round the year before? I know that a lot of us believe Shedeur could be that guy, but from a football business side of things, I just don't see that. I don't see them making that choice. We'll see how things go. Let me know in the comments what you guys think leading up to this game for the Bengals. Again, we're going to be doing our preview show later this week, so anything you want us to touch on, answer, if you've got questions or stuff that you want us to talk about on the show, put it in the comments. We'll go through everything, compile whatever we can to fit into the show, and that'll be out later this week. So I appreciate you guys tuning in. Let me know all your thoughts and opinions. And again, please head over to jointhedogs.com to join the dog pack and get into the Discord for the game on Sunday. That's right. It is finally game week 2025 season kickoff for the Browns this Sunday against the Bengals. We'll see you guys in the preview show.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Dogs Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Twitter at The Dogs Podcast. Get your thoughts on the show at thedogspodcast.com.
This episode is sponsored by Butcher Box for Pets. Browns fans, we love our fellow dogs, our dog pack members, and the Dog Pound faithful, but let's not kid ourselves. The most important dogs in our lives are, well, our dogs. Your furry friends aren't just pets, they're part of the family. But the question is, what are you actually feeding them? Head to butcherbox4pets.com/products to see all the options for your dogs, including fresh and dry foods, treats, meal toppers, and even toys for your dog. If you're not sure what your dog will like best, try the Premium Nutrition Adult Starter Pack, and they even have a vacation bundle to take care of your four-legged friends while you're on vacation this summer. And right now you can get 20% off your order with promo code DAWGS, DAWGS, when you check out. At ButcherBox, they believe in real ingredients. Their pet foods have been developed and certified by vet nutritionists to contain zero artificial flavors or preservatives. You get protein-packed formula with over 50% of the recipe comprised of third-party certified humane ButcherBox meat, plus functional ingredients like pre- and postbiotics to support your dog's vitality and digestion. I know that sounds like a lot, but the bottom line is your dogs are getting the nutrition and the value they need and honestly that they deserve. I know our home wouldn't be the same without Odie, our 100-pound golden retriever who thinks he's a 10-pound lap dog. He is not, but it gives us peace of mind knowing that we're giving him quality food instead of just that factory processed garbage from the store. And speaking of the store, no need to go. ButcherBox for Pets delivers their high-quality food right to your door. So head to butcherboxforpets.com/products and use promo code DAWGS, DAWGS, for 20% off your order. It's time for us dogs to give our dogs the nutrition they deserve.
Shop the Sherwin-Williams Labor Day sale and get 35% off paints and stains August 22nd through September 4th. With prices starting at $31.84, it's the perfect time to transform your space with color. Whether you're looking to revamp your interior or exterior, we have you covered with bold hues, soothing neutrals, and everything in between. Visit your neighborhood Sherwin-Williams store or shop the sale online. Delivery available on qualifying orders. Click the banner to learn more. Retail sales only. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.